Stop all action immediately and listen with unconditional attention, as the moment you are experiencing cannot be attributed to chance or fortuity. It is configured as a manifest signal of a cosmic alignment, a precise action orchestrated by an ancestral force, which the Egyptian mystery schools called Thoth, who guided you here for a singular reason that will be proven in the next few seconds. An invisible system of control subtly operates in your existence, a mental matrix that keeps you confined, with surgical precision, in reiterated cycles of frustration, difficulty, and repetition. The very act of hesitating to interrupt this communication is irrefutable proof that you are dangerously close to escaping this psychological confinement. I urge you to remain receptive, for the initial key to the definitive deactivation of this existential programming will be provided to you shortly. This is not a mere self-help doctrine, but a true consciousness activation code. That persistent feeling of disharmony perceived in your reality, that ontological void that no external material or emotional acquisition can fill, should not be misinterpreted as a flaw in your person, but rather as a peremptory evolutionary calling. It is your consciousness imperiously attempting to show you the way out of a prison whose existence and structure you did not even know. The majority of individuals, faced with such existential tension, will inevitably fail this test, choosing to continue scrolling the digital informational flow, seeking the reassuring anesthesia of noise. But the call has resonated within you with a clarity that admits no reply. Before the conclusion of this exposition, you will not only understand the profound reason for your having been chosen for this revelation, but you will have the exact operational tool in your hands to fully rewrite the script of your life. True Hermetic wisdom, in fact, manifests only when the disciple's mind has reached the necessary readiness and receptivity to receive it. Imagine your existence as the course of a river flowing in a predictable direction. This moment is an unexpected bend, an unforeseen fork, where the current noticeably intensifies. This intensity you perceive as urgency is not a precursor to destruction, but the potential energy of transformation that propels you forcefully toward an ocean of possibilities hitherto unexplored. The universe operates in real time, and this urgency is a synchronistic and visceral signal, irreducible to past memory or future worry. It is the tangible and unassailable proof that your inner world has entered into a deep dialogue with the outer cosmos. You must not resist this feeling of imminence. On the contrary, you must embrace it and allow it to saturate every fiber of your being. It is the pure fuel for your metamorphosis, the propulsive energy that will inexorably lift you beyond every self-imposed limitation. With every moment you accept this intensity, you are actively rewriting your neural circuits, acclimatizing your organism and psyche to the intrinsic vibration of your next level of existence before you even reach it physically. Many succumb to this critical phase, confusing the energy of change with the imminence of chaos. They seek anesthesia and choose the blue pill. But you, by persevering, have overcome the first and most arduous barrier, the fear of the unknown. Now, however, a more subtle and insidious voice manifests, the jealous guardian of your comfort zone, which attempts with logical arguments to lead you back to what is familiar, even if intrinsically limiting. Before proceeding with this analysis, which is about to reveal the shocking nature of how your life repeats itself in the same vicious circles, I ask for an immediate act of clarity, an irrevocable vibrational commitment. Leave us alike here now, and I will know you have chosen not to turn back and that your soul is aligned with this ineluctable truth. The comfort trap is fueled by a voice that, while cleverly camouflaging itself as your logic and reason, is actually the survival mechanism of your old self, the ego, which tenaciously identifies with your history of limitations and sufferings. It uses your past failures, your fears, and your insecurities as weapons, whispering, "It's safer to stay where you are, where everything is perfectly predictable." For the ego, the unknown is not an adventure. It is symbolic death and annihilation. The real cost of yielding to this voice and not evolving is not measurable on your bank statement, but accumulates exponentially as existential weight and stagnation. It is the dream shelved, the decisive conversation avoided, the trip never taken. Every unheeded call from the heart is a brick that contributes to raising the wall of your inner prison. This self-sabotage structure is the most insidious prison of all, for the bars are invisible to the eye, and you yourself are the unconscious jailer. The habit of pain and predictability becomes, in a psychological paradox, more comfortable than the unpredictability of authentic joy. The socio-cultural system as a whole thrives on individuals stuck in their comfort zones, as they are predictable, easily controllable, and excellent consumers, constantly busy filling the inner void with an uninterrupted sequence of external distractions. The resistance you feel right now is a strongly positive indicator. It is the tension of the seed at the critical moment before germination, the clear signal that the old shell is about to break definitively. The voice of fear screams so powerfully because it senses the imminent loss of control, knowing that you are evolving from a primary survival mechanism to a superior creative consciousness. This process is not painless, but it symbolizes the necessary death of the limited self and the consequent birth of the higher, unlimited self. Your primary task is not to fight this voice or attempt to silence it forcibly, but simply to observe it without judgment. Thank it for the service rendered in the past, but affirm to it with firm and loving determination that you have irrevocably chosen a new evolutionary path. With every second you remain in this conscious observation, you actively weaken the chains of your past, asserting your inalienable sovereignty over your mind. This emotional and mental detachment allows you to see with unparalleled clarity the patterns that have trapped you. The same situations, the recurrent challenges, the frustrations that repeat inexorably. This is not bad luck, but an encrypted code that reveals with precision where your energy has chronically become stuck. Ancient traditions taught that the universe repeats the same tests in ever different ways until the lesson is fully learned, a Hermetic principle of extreme relevance. Your life has constantly tried to show you the key to access the next level of understanding, but it has remained hidden in the repetitive patterns you have always avoided looking at. Every recurring situation is a vibratory echo of an unhealed core belief, a categorical invitation to react in a radically new way. The universe does not communicate in human languages, but exclusively with the universal language of experience. If you attract partners who abandon you, the underlying lesson is to learn never to abandon yourself, cultivating emotional self-sufficiency. If you face scarcity, the learning is to recognize and stabilize inner abundance, an inexhaustible resource, regardless of external circumstances. The message is encoded in the very pain of the pattern, and this is why most individuals do not decipher it, being too busy suffering from the problem to glimpse the intrinsic solution. This cyclical nature is governed by the Hermetic principle of rhythm. Everything rises and falls, everything has its tides. The definitive way out of this vicious circle lies in adopting a panoramic viewpoint. You are momentarily stopping the hamster wheel to observe it from outside the system, assuming the role of director and no longer the actor of your personal drama. From this detached perspective, you acquire the effective power to change the plot. You must not judge yourself for having repeated these patterns. Every single repetition has been an indispensable lesson, every frustration a preparation for this moment of supreme lucidity. The deciphering of the code is not a complex magic formula, but a simple truth that has always been evident. To access it, a universal key is necessary that subverts all the rules of the game. Witness consciousness. It is the powerful instrument of the silent observer, the one who watches the impulse to abandon, the doubt, and the fear, but identifies with none of them. The witness consciousness is the space of absolute stillness where you cease to be a pawn in the mental game to become the omniscient observer. This is the true and inalienable seat of inner freedom, where at every moment you weaken the power of old fears. The essence of the wisdom teachings, from Buddha to Christ, to Advaita Vedanta, lies in overcoming suffering stemming from identification with the mind. If you believe you are your thoughts, you become their puppet. When you become the witness, you can observe the thought of fear emerge, but remain in an uncontaminated state of peace. This state makes you responsive, based on choice, rather than reactive. Based on reflex, you are no longer a rudderless boat at the mercy of the waves, but you have the sacred space between stimulus and response to exercise sovereign choice. This perspective of observation is your direct and immediate connection to the divine source, the eternal part of you that is immutable and perpetually at peace. By aligning with it, you develop an unshakable inner calm. From this elevated state, you finally become receptive to the wisdom codified by Thoth, known as Hermes Trismegistus, the universal archetype who recorded the fundamental principles of existence, the 7 Hermetic laws. These are not religious dogmas, but operative natural laws. The first principle, mentalism, all is mind, affirms that fundamental reality is universal consciousness, and your mind, being a fraction of it, creates your reality through focused thought. This implies your perception does not just observe the universe, but actively determines its form. The second, correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without, provides you with a definitive map. The external world is a perfect mirror of your internal state. Every external event reflects an unresolved internal condition. Stop trying to clean the reflection in the mirror and purify yourself. The third, vibration, establishes that nothing is at rest and that your emotions, the frequency you emit, attract the similar. Low-frequency emotions like fear and anger attract situations that also vibrate low. The fourth, polarity, teaches you that opposites are merely the extremes of a single scale of energy, e.g., love and hatred are poles of the same feeling, allowing you to transmute fear into courage simply by raising the vibration along the scale. The fifth, rhythm, governs the cyclical nature of every phenomenon, but witness consciousness allows you to neutralize the extremes, riding the wave without being overwhelmed by it. The sixth, causality or cause and effect, negates chance, affirming that every effect has its cause and that your choices are the primary cause of your timeline. The seventh, gender, balances intention, masculine, clear will, and receptivity, feminine, allowing and receiving, the two fundamental forces of manifestation. Mastery of these 7 laws constitutes applied alchemy, the instruction manual for the human experience. The real reason you were chosen is that your energetic frequency has reached the point of critical maturation. You are the antenna that has vibrated high enough to tune into this message, which could not have reached you sooner. Thoth does not choose, but records when the individual is ready to access a new level of information. Your persistence is the confirmation of your energetic maturation. All your challenges have been a process of inner alchemy, undoing the old structures and slowly raising your vibration. You were not chosen by an external deity, but you chose yourself by not giving up on yourself. You are ready to stop blaming the world, to assume responsibility, and to understand that your reality is a field of infinite potential, shapeable by your consciousness. You have reached the edge of a precipice of potential, where quantum physics meets ancient spirituality. In this field, infinite realities coexist as waves of probability. Your act of targeted observation, witness consciousness, collapses one of these waves into your lived reality. You are the observer, and your focused consciousness is the most powerful tool. Until now, you have unconsciously collapsed your reality based on your fears. Now you can consciously choose a new lens, shifting your energy from the timeline of victimhood to that of creation. Your quantum leap is an instantaneous decision, tuning your internal radio to the frequency of your expanded self. To do this, combine clear intention, thought, with elevated emotion. Feeling the brain thinks, the heart attracts. The resistance you feel is your body dependent on the chemistry of your old self, the vertigo before the leap. Your vision of the future must be stronger than your memory of the past. This decision must be sealed by an action in the physical world. Inspired action. It is not action forced by anxiety, but the next logical and intuitive step that emerges from your new awareness. The universe responds to the clarity of intention. Forced action comes from the ego, fear. Inspired action comes from trust and alignment, heart. Release the need to control the how. Be a synchronicity hunter. They are the winks of the cosmos confirming that your new frequency has been received. The last step is to anchor this new energy in your body. Breathe deeply, memorize the feeling of power, and pronounce the decree. I choose my new timeline. It is done. This is not a request, but a declaration. The journey requires consistency, and whenever doubt arises, observe it and reaffirm, this is no longer me. You have become the change itself. The outcome of this alignment now resides in your action. To definitively seal the circle of this synergy and make the assumption of your inner mastery irrevocable, I ask for a pact of co-creation. If you have not yet done so, express your like, so that its energy is the tangible proof of your awakening. Subsequently, I urge you to deposit the act of your sovereignty in the comments, leaving a keen and charismatic phrase that proclaims your decision. Write, for example, I am the pilot of my soul. Finally, if this revelation has illuminated your path and you feel the call to fuel the dissemination of this wisdom, subscribe now to the channel. I thank you deeply, knowing that your presence and your choice are the very foundation of this mission. May your inner coherence be your inviolable lighthouse, guiding you toward the boldest and most unlimited expression of your potential. May abundance resonate with every one of your truths. See you soon.